A towering inferno devoured everything in its path. Flames danced hungrily, licking at the darkened sky, turning night into day. People fled, their screams swallowed by the roar of the blaze. But one figure stood amidst the chaos, his face grim, etched with a fierce determination. His name was Leo. He was a farmer, a simple man who had toiled the land for a modest living. But now his fields were a sea of fire, his crops and animals lost to the merciless flames. As the fire raged, Leo watched helplessly. His home, his livelihood, his future, all reduced to ashes. When the fire finally died down, leaving behind only a desolate landscape of charred remains, Leo found himself utterly alone. His friends and neighbors, unable to bear witness to the tragedy, had fled. But he couldn't bring himself to leave. Despite the acrid smoke stinging his eyes and the heat scorching his skin, he stayed. In the midst of the ruins, he felt an overwhelming sense of despair. It was a feeling that threatened to consume him, whispering insidious doubts in his ear. "Why bother starting over? What's the point?" it taunted. For days, Leo remained there amidst the debris, subsisting on stale bread and water from a nearby stream. Sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford. Every night the cold seeped into his bones and the haunting cries of the night wind echoed the torment in his soul. Yet, through it all, a tiny ember of determination refused to be extinguished within him. One morning, driven by an insatiable hunger, Leo set out to the neighboring town. He walked with a heavy heart, each step echoing the burden of his sorrow. As he navigated the familiar streets, he saw pity and sympathy in the eyes of the townspeople, but no one dared to speak of his misfortune. All of them knew his story, yet none could fathom the depth of his despair. Days turned into weeks, and Leo became a haunting presence in the town, a living testament to the tragedy that had struck him. His once robust frame was now gaunt and haggard, his eyes hollowed by grief. People began to whisper that he was cursed, that some malevolent force was haunting him, driving him into the abyss of misery. Fearful glances and hushed whispers followed him like a shadow. But amidst the pity and fear, there was also scorn. Some people blamed him for not heeding their warnings about the approaching fire. Others criticized his decision to stay, calling him a foolhardy martyr. In the evenings, when the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows, Leo would seek solace by the river. There he would sit, his gaze fixed on the flowing water, lost in a world of his own. One such evening, an old woman approached him. She was gnarled and weathered like an ancient tree, her eyes filled with a lifetime of stories. Seeing the torment in Leo's eyes, she sat beside him in silence for a while, letting the quiet companionship soothe his frayed nerves. Finally she spoke, her voice raspy yet kind. "The pain you carry is heavy, young one," she said, her gaze unwavering. "But you must learn to lighten your load, not just for your sake, but for the sake of those who love you." Her words were like a balm to his wounded soul, soothing the raw edges of his grief. "How can I do that?" he asked, his voice hoarse from disuse. "You are right," the old woman said, her eyes twinkling with wisdom. "You carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, but it's time to let some of it go. It's time to start anew." With that, she handed him a small packet. "Here," she said, "plant these seeds. They are sunflower seeds. Plant them with care and watch them grow." Then, as if it was time to depart, she rose and walked away. The next morning, Leo followed the old woman's advice. He planted the sunflower seeds in a small patch of land near his ruined house, each seed representing a tiny hope for a brighter tomorrow. As the days passed, the seeds germinated, pushing through the scorched earth with astonishing vigor. Their leaves unfurled, reaching towards the sun, mirroring Leo's own yearning for a new beginning. Meanwhile, news of Leo's unusual enterprise spread through the town like wildfire. People came from far and wide to see the sunflowers growing in the midst of the ashes. And what they saw filled them with awe. The sunflowers were not just plants. They were symbols of resilience, of the indomitable spirit that refused to be cowed by adversity. One day, a young girl approached Leo. She was the daughter of the baker, whose family had lost their home in the fire. "Mr. Leo," she said, her eyes shining with admiration, "your sunflowers are beautiful. Can I touch them?" Leo smiled, his first genuine smile in what seemed like an eternity. "Of course, child," he said. "They're for everyone to enjoy." The girl ran her small hands over the velvety petals, her touch as light as a feather. "They remind me of sunshine after the rain," she whispered. From that day on, the girl visited Leo every day. She would bring him fresh water from her house and sometimes even share her breakfast with him. Slowly but surely, Leo began to emerge from his self-imposed exile. He started repairing his house piece by piece, using the charred wood and salvaging whatever he could from the rubble. It was slow, painstaking work, but with each nail he hammered and each stone he laid, he felt a sense of purpose re-entering his life. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows across the land, the girl arrived at Leo's house with a worried expression on her face. "Mr. Leo," she said breathlessly, "the villagers are coming. They want to talk to you." Leo felt a knot of apprehension in his stomach. What did they want? Had they come to mock him, to gloat over his misfortune? But as he walked among them, he saw not mockery, but concern in their eyes. "Leo," the baker said, his voice gruff with emotion, "we've come to help you rebuild." And then they did. The entire village turned out, each person contributing what they could, their combined efforts forming a tapestry of support and camaraderie. The carpenter donated lumber, the blacksmith mended tools, and the womenfolk prepared food, ensuring that no one went hungry. Together, they rebuilt Leo's house, making it sturdier and more livable than before. They cleared the fields, replanted the crops, and even helped him acquire new animals. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Leo's life began to resemble its former self. The tragedy of the fire still lingered in his memory, but it no longer consumed him. He had emerged from the ashes, stronger, humbler, and more resolute than ever before. The sunflowers continued to thrive, their faces forever turned towards the sun, a silent testament to Leo's indomitable spirit. They became a symbol of hope for the entire village, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the sun will rise again. One day, as Leo stood amidst his thriving fields, a sense of gratitude washed over him. He looked up at the endless expanse of the sky, a single tear tracing a path down his weather-beaten face. He was not just a survivor, he was a beacon of hope. He had faced the abyss and emerged victorious. His story became a legend, whispered from one generation to the next, a tale of courage, perseverance, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. For Leo was not just a simple farmer. He was a symbol of the human will to survive, to overcome, and to thrive even in the face of overwhelming adversity.